Hell hath no fury like a runway scorned. Welcome to our channel, dedicated to exploring the underbelly of fashion. In this video, we delve into the complicated history of Victoria's Secret, a lingerie brand that has experienced tremendous highs and cataclysmic lows over the past few years. Join us as we unravel the reasons behind its decline and, more importantly, explore what the brand's comeback will look like and if it can succeed in today's current market. Victoria's Secret, known for its glamorous lingerie and iconic fashion shows, was once the leading name in the industry. For decades, Victoria's Secret was the final word in US lingerie, the store that defined sexy for a generation of young women, and constantly assured its customers that perfection was just one push-up bra away. The shows, which lasted for 23 years, were considered the Super Bowl of fashion, and launched the careers of models Gisele Bündchen, Adriana Lima, Tyra Banks, Heidi Klum, and Alessandra Ambrosio, among others. However, in recent years, the brand experienced a notable decline and a myriad of scandals. So why did Victoria's Secret fail? Here we cover the ascent, the demise, and the attempted comeback of one of the industry's most controversial stories. Victoria's Secret has long been criticized for its definition of beauty, particularly as it prioritizes an aesthetic not representative of the overwhelming majority of women. The brand made its name marketing its angels, models with impossibly thin bodies that are meant to represent the ideal woman. The reality is that this homogeneous image omits the broad range of body types and cultural representations that speak to the modern consumer. The lack of inclusion in today's market has been attacked by the mainstream media and damaged the brand's reputation, perhaps for all times. Victoria's Secret faced even further backlash with the #MeToo movement, which represented a monumental societal shift across the world. Members called for empowerment, inclusivity, and genuine representation. Instead of embracing this movement, the executives at Victoria's Secret turned a blind eye, losing millions of potential customers in the process. But it was not always this way. Here's how the brand truly began. The man behind Victoria's Secret, Leslie Wexner, bought Victoria's Secret in 1982 for $1 million, with a mission to turn the then relatively unknown entity into a leading brand. With an intent on becoming a lingerie powerhouse in an already crowded field, Wexner selected Ed Razek as his chief marketing officer. Together, the two men created a unique blueprint and soon built a multi-billion-dollar lingerie juggernaut, an inescapable cultural phenomenon in the late 1990s and early 2000s. During the height of the Sex and the City era, Victoria's Secret became known for its impossibly lean and leggy spokeswomen, dubbed angels. Bestowed with enormous feathery wings, revealing lingerie sets, and sky-high stilettos, the chosen models were all but guaranteed household name status, once cast to walk their runways. But the fairy tale began to show chinks in the armor over time. Behind the glitz and glamour touting female empowerment lay allegations of bullying and harassment of employees and models. As the controversy began to mount in regards to Wexner's ties to convicted sex offender and disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, Victoria's Secret eventually folded and were forced to revamp. But before we get to where they are now, let's delve into some of the scandals that rocked the company over the years. The first shots. A New York Times investigation found widespread bullying and harassment of employees and models, with more than 30 current and former executives, employees, contractors, and models on record speaking out against abuse by the lingerie brand. And who was the top offender within the top brass? None other than Ed Razek. Viewed by many as the right-hand man of Wexner, Razek abused his power as one of the top execs in the company for decades and was the subject of repeated complaints about inappropriate conduct. According to several accounts, Razek tried to kiss several of the models he had a hand in selecting for the runway shows and catalogs. He asked models to sit on his lap. He touched one's crotch ahead of the 2018 Victoria's Secret fashion show. All of these actions were reported to Wexner, who apparently ignored them. Some models who complained faced retaliation for confronting their abusers. One model, Andy Muse, said Victoria's Secret stopped hiring her after she rebuffed Mr. Razek's advances. For 4 years, Muse was one of the top models for the company, cast as one of the angels to wear the wings in the annual runway show. After rebuffing Mr. Razek's advances in 2007 to a private dinner invitation, the then 19-year-old was left out of the 2008 Victoria's Secret show. Let me repeat that, so you can do some quick math. 19 years old minus 2 years equals 17 years old. Things that make you go, So, for the first time in 4 years, Victoria's Secret had not picked her for its 2008 fashion show, and Muse was unceremoniously dumped and cast aside. Cast aside for other victims. But it was not just Razek that abused the women. The company had an unspoken policy when it came to the tiers and levels of abuse committed by men in various positions throughout the company. The trickle-down of abuse at Victoria's Secret ran deep. It wasn't just the two at the top that abused the models with their rank and position, with top photographers also using their position to pressure the models. Russell James was one of Victoria's Secret's go-to photographers, earning tens of thousands of dollars a day from the company. But the lucrative gig was not enough for Mr. James, and it soon became a company secret that he got a number of the brand's models to pose nude, often without being paid. Later, he then included the pictures in an expensive coffee table book. How did he get so many models to pose for free and nude, you may be asking? Well, Mr. James was popular and also had a close relationship with Mr. Razek. The women often consented in hopes of getting elevated to the coveted angel status. The nude photo shoots weren't covered under the models' contracts with Victoria's Secret, which meant they weren't paid for the extra work. One incident with James involved another billionaire, Richard Branson, and his private Caribbean property, Necker Island. It was at this location that James lured several models with an all-expenses-paid trip, where they were coerced to pose for nude beach photos shot by Mr. James. Models who attended the event were provided with copious amounts of alcohol and were expected to mingle with men, including Mr. Branson. Mr. Branson denies any wrongdoing or any knowledge of the intricacies of what Mr. James was plotting, but it is obvious that James used this connection to coax the women into bearing all for his bucks, which retail for thousands of dollars. And then, another bombshell emerged that blew the lid off of Victoria's Secret. The company you keep speaks volumes. Mr. Wexner and Mr. Epstein had been tight for years, with Wexner giving the financier carte blanche to manage his billions, elevating Mr. Epstein's stature and affording him an opulent lifestyle. From as early as the mid-90s, Epstein had been a fixture at Victoria's Secret, posing as a talent scout for the brand in 1997 and luring a model to a Santa Monica hotel room where he sexually assaulted her. The close and enduring association between Epstein and Wexner played a pivotal role in the acquisition of Epstein's townhouse, where he engaged in the sexual exploitation of underage girls, and his private jet, famously referred to as the Lolita Express, which was employed to transport his victims. Between 1995 and 2006, Mr. Epstein deceived aspiring models on numerous occasions by falsely claiming to be affiliated with Victoria's Secret and offering to assist them in securing modeling opportunities. He would invite them to auditions, but at least 2 instances resulted in Mr. Epstein assaulting the women involved, as reported by the victims and outlined in court documents. It has been widely publicized that Wexner acknowledged severing ties with Epstein in approximately 2007, shortly after Florida prosecutors levied a sex crime charge against him. But a decade later, things really hit the fan when, in early 2019, Epstein was charged with sex trafficking, and the festering business problems at Victoria's Secret escalated into a public crisis. With inside information on some of the world's richest and most powerful individuals, speculation reached thunderous pitches as to what Jeffrey Epstein would admit to prosecutors in his case. But on August 10, 2019, Epstein was found dead in his prison cell, the official cause listed as death by suicide. The unofficial cause is that Epstein was killed in his cell in the middle of the night because he knew too much and there were too many important people with high-profile careers on the line, from President Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew. Ed Razek, Richard Branson, and more. Epstein's death meant that many secrets went to the grave with him. The scandals. And although Epstein took a fair number of secrets to his early grave, there are still plenty more that we do know about. They include Bella Hadid. It didn't just happen to lesser-known models, however. Razek tried it with top models as well, including Bella Hadid. According to accounts, in 2018, Hadid was being measured for underwear that would meet broadcast television standards. Nearby, Mr. Razek sat on a couch, watching. According to 3 people who were there and a 4th who was told about it, Razek was quoted as saying, "Forget the panties." He followed this up by asking if the TV network would allow Hadid to walk, quote, "down the runway with those perfect titties." Was it a coincidence that around this time, Angel's Adriana Lima quit walking for the brand, and Gisele Bündchen began to distance herself from Victoria's Secret? And the documentary exposing the company, Victoria's Secret, Angels and Demons, did them no favors either. Victoria's Secret, Angels and Demons. The 3-part docuseries about fashion, sex, power, money, and misconduct fired arguably the last fatal shot at the brand when it released in 2022. In the revealing account, Victoria's Secret is picked apart by those inside the company, as well as those adjacent and collaborating with the lingerie label. Within the series, several notable scenes pique curiosity as they revolve around the brand's adolescent-focused collection, Pink. The brand aimed to foster a sense of loyalty among susceptible young shoppers, hoping to transform them into dedicated consumers over the long term. But what it did instead was lead to charges that the company missed the mark on advertising to teens and groomed the models behind the scene to be at the beck and call of the men working throughout the company. Mission accomplished? Nope. Epic fail? A resounding yes. Victoria's Secret is a relic of the past. At the height of the #MeToo movement, Victoria's Secret was held to the fire for its antiquated standards of beauty and its refusal to change with the times. The societal norms defining beauty and sexiness have been changing for years, with a greater value on a wide range of body types, skin colors, and gender identities. Victoria's Secret hasn't kept pace. With sales declining, Victoria's Secret has been closing stores, with shares of its parent company, L Brands, falling more than 75% from their 2015 peak. In 2018, the criticism gained momentum when Mr. Razek, a key figure at Victoria's Secret, made it clear that he had no inclination to feature plus-size and transgender models in their fashion shows. At the time, the company had lost almost 50% of its value, with the show reaching its lowest audience in history since its start in 1995. It took a few more model defections, upper management resignations, and financial slaps before Victoria's Secret announced a major overhaul of its brand. Victoria's Secret, the revamp. The first action from the restructuring was the resignation of Razek and the hiring of transgender model Valentina Sampaio. Other notable hires during this time included Winnie Harlow, Chinese skier Eileen Gu, and plus-size models Paloma Elses and Lorena Duran. And by hiring diverse spokespeople in soccer star Megan Rapinoe and actress Priyanka Chopra Jonas, Victoria's Secret began to channel a push towards female empowerment. These moves and more are signs that the brand is acknowledging past missteps and redefining its narrative with a broader definition of beauty and the celebration of diversity and beauty in all its forms. Will these initiatives successfully revive the company from the brink of destruction, or is it too little too late? Fashion experts remain on the fence about how effective Victoria's Secret can be in a current environment, where companies like Fenty have not only filled the void, but taken the concept of diversity to new heights, unlike ever seen in the fashion world. Victoria's Secret may follow Rihanna's lead and diversify from lingerie and into activewear, loungewear, and beauty products in order to keep up with the latest trends. In the meantime, the collective fashion world is closely watching the former lingerie giant as it attempts to pick up the pieces.